693 BC, quite a few years, said, "I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, I do and I understand." And I think it's so helpful if we can move our learners along that line from just hearing about things, dare I say, potentially forgetting, to seeing them, with the hope that actually there'll be a bit of doing as well. So that's what we're trying to do with FarmerTime. FarmerTime is a fantastic project. There are about 1,000 farmers and teachers paired in the UK. We pair them across the UK. We have all kinds of different geography, all kinds of different farmers, locations, schools, etc., all ages as well. And the idea is that we help our children to really illustrate what's happening in the classroom. We pair them, as I say, for video calls, virtual visits, and they happen throughout the school year, which happens to be the farm year. The school year actually was set up for that, for in the same as the farming year. In fact, my grandfather used to tell the headmistress of the local school when the end of term needed to be, so the children could be out in the fields if it was going to be an early harvest or a late harvest. I know that doesn't happen anymore, but there's the legacy of it. So as part of FarmerTime, you get to journey through with us through the farming year. You get to see things like this crop of beans planted, raised, and potentially harvested if we can get off before the end of term. But you also just get to illustrate what you're learning in the classroom. And the basis of FarmerTime really is a good relationship between the farmer and the teacher. The teacher will share what's going on in the curriculum. What are you studying? Is it plants? Is it soil quality? Is it air and water? Is it reproduction? Is it genetics? Is it poo? Is it nutrition? What is it? And then the farmer will find some way, nearly always, of demonstrating that in their field. But I thought I'd just do a little living demonstration, or a couple as we go round. But before I say any more, is everybody out? There's nobody here who's going to get squeamish at the sight of blood, is there? You're going to be okay? Okay, well, we're going to pop into this. This is a field of beans. And one of the, I've got my spade with. I nearly always have my spade with me because we do a fair bit of digging. And I'm going to dig up a bean plant, which is surprisingly difficult to do with one hand. Let's try it with that hand. I'm going to dig up one of my bean plants. We've had not a lot of rain here recently, so the soil's pretty hard. I can see a little bit of moisture there. I'll have a look in a minute at what I'm managing to dig up, if anything. We do a lot of digging. One of the ways to kind of assess soil health is to dig a spade full of soil and count how many worms you've dug up, and we can compare different soils and their health based on the worm count. So what I'm doing is this is a field of broad beans, much as you might have in the kitchen. You might eat broad beans. These are the same family. They're just in flower, smelling fantastic, and they're a legume. So of course that means that they fix nitrogen from the air, and they put it into the plant to help the plant nutrition. Now we'll just get down here for a moment so what we've got here down in these roots, and as a farmer I'm looking for this to see how healthy my plants are, is these little nodules. Let's just get rid of this guy here, shall we? Is these little nodules. I don't know if you can see some of they're little kind of pinky white coloured nodules on the root of that bean plant. I'm just going to pull one of them off now, and I know that it's healthy. But if I split that open with my thumb, I know that it's healthy if it's pink or red. Let's have a little look and see if we can see. Oh yeah, there we go. Right. Now, I can see, and it's no surprise to me based on the time of year. Let's see if we, don't know if you can see, that's pink just in the middle there. See that pink there? I did say, is anyone squeamish? That pink is actually leg hemoglobin. It's the plant equivalent of blood. And that's basically that process of fixing nitrogen happening right in the field. So I can see that those plants are all good. I can see that they're healthy. I mean, I can see that they're healthy even before I look at the roots. But that's a great thing to be looking at. So in FarmerTime, we work with all kinds of different age groups. We're kind of typically year 2 and up. We have some FarmerTime partnerships that are even at tertiary level. We have the Leeds University soil science students who are part of our FarmerTime project. And really the criteria, if there are any, is is can you achieve learning outcomes from this? FarmerTime is all about education. It is, of course, entertaining, but the minute it becomes just entertainment, then, well, you lose a lot of farmers and you lose a lot of teachers. We are really interested. Oh, have I gone round the other way? We're really interested in the education side of things. So we work with all kinds of age groups. Just see if I can turn myself back around again. Why is that not funny? I'm probably going all over your screen, but let's carry on like that, shall we? That's okay for me. And we work with all kinds of age groups. We work with all kinds of subjects as well. I mean, farming, obviously, well, I say obviously, but farming does lend itself to the sciences. We do a lot of biology. There's quite a lot of chemistry and a fair bit of physics in farming. We illustrate all kinds of subjects relating to that. There's obviously geography. We've touched on history in my FarmerTime calls. We've covered textiles. You'll see in a moment a whole field of textiles. That would be great. So we really cover a range of topics, and it's only really limited by the imagination of the farmer and the teacher. So, when you're paired with your farmer, give them all the subject, give them all the curriculum headings, and let's just see if they can demonstrate. We were talking recently about the Stone Age with my class. Now, that was a little bit more difficult, but we managed to find some kind of demonstrations to do with that. But there are a lot of things that are a lot more appropriate. The teacher and farmer relationship is particularly important to kind of flesh out what those potential
You've muted yourself, Tom, somehow.
Oh, sorry, have I been muted for a little while?
Just a minute or so, less than.
Just a minute.
Oh, 30 seconds.
I do apologise. Gosh, that was when I was trying to turn myself around, I think. It was great stuff. That's fantastic content, so interesting, and I'll try to repeat some of it. It really is the strength of our FarmerTime partnership comes from that relationship between the farmer and the teacher. And I was just saying that a teacher I was paired with a few years ago said to me, "Let's not do a call this week, Tom. There's nothing really that we can illustrate." And when I said, "What are you studying in class?" She said, "Well, we're studying genetics." And I said, "Every farm in the UK understands genetics, whether we're trying to breed cows that give birth easier, whether we're trying to find crops that have higher yields or are more resistant to disease." And actually, we went into this field behind me to illustrate genetics. We were looking at two different fields of rapeseed. So that's some people call that canola. It's the plant that's yellow at this time of year in flower, big yellow fields. And we were between two different varieties. And I said to them, the most important thing for me on this farm is that our plants grow fast in the autumn. And that means that they grow faster than the pigeons can eat them, because we have a lot of problems with pigeons. And we looked, as I sat there in between the two different varieties of rapeseed, we looked at which ones had more vigor, which ones had more leaf area, which ones were taller, which ones had grown faster. And we were examining which genetics would better suit my farm. So that was a living example of a topic that we weren't sure whether we could originally illustrate from an education perspective, but actually, as I said, every farmer in the UK can talk genetics in one way or another. There are a few things which I particularly love about FarmerTime. One is, and because we have that ongoing relationship, that really is so important. But we're doing calls kind of every 2-3 weeks, maybe once a month. It all depends on your schedule and the schedule of the farmer and what you're studying at a particular time. But I love the fact that I hear new names asking questions later on in our calls, kind of calls 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I know that's the children that are a little bit more nervous, a bit more reluctant. Maybe they're holding back a little bit. And as they build in confidence, they're able to ask a question, one in front of their peers, but also to this person on the screen that was a stranger and is now, I suppose, a trusted source of information. We just get to see things coming to life, and that is amazing for our children. We know it has a deep impact on them. we have various different kind of metrics for measuring what we do, from time to kind of various different impacts. Well, we also know anecdotally, there was a great example of a farmer a couple of years ago who didn't have any sheep on his farm, but his neighbour did, and he did a visit over to his neighbour's farm on the FarmerTime call, and they saw a lamb being born. Absolutely amazing. It's still a miracle every time I see it, and it was so impactful on those children that they went home and told their parents, and it was so impactful on those parents that some of those parents wrote to that farmer and said, "Thank you so much. You know, it's had such a profound impact on my children, seeing something born right in front of them." And I know to not only excite the children, but to excite them to tell the parents, and to excite the parents to then write a letter of thanks is a pretty big thing. And we do get some lovely letters from the children. Often at the end of the year, my class will the teacher will often get them to write to me, and what they're really doing is summarising what they've learned. They do a lot of telling me about things actually as well, and that's it's not just a one-way street. And I think that's really important for them to be able to not only learn things in the classroom, but then to learn it to such a level that they can tell a third party, they can tell me about it. So they often on a call, I'll say, "Hi guys, it's Farmer Tom here. Today I'm out in our field of wheat, and I'm going to do a worm count to see what our soil health is like. What have you been studying recently?" It's always amazing because they've typically been studying something which I'm looking at. Isn't that magic? And the children will explain to me what they've been learning about soil health and what they know about worms and what they know about mini beasts or various different things. So it's so important for them to be able to do that. We then typically have some kind of activity, and just lots of questions. The other thing I love about FarmerTime is I don't think I've ever done a call in 6 or 7 years now where there are fewer hands up at the end than there are at the beginning. There are always more hands up at the end of the call than there are at the beginning, just because of that natural curiosity. And I'm often asked, what's the most important quality of a farmer? And I always say it's the same important quality of our learners, of our children, just climbing a gate at the same time, and that is curiosity. One of the things we've realised also is how scientific we are in farming, or how like scientists we are, because we'll do some research, we'll do some reading, we'll visit other farms, and we'll come up with a hypothesis, a bit of an idea on how we're going to grow things, grow food, etc. And then we'll put that into practice. There'll be lots of variables. Weather's obviously one of them, but soil, climate, wind, things that we get wrong, varieties of plants, genetics, etc., pest, disease. We measure those variables, and then of course we have our yields at the end of the year. An example, that wheat over there, it's looking pretty average at the moment. A really good yield would be 10 tons per hectare, and that's looking to me like it might be 7. So at the end of the year, I'll make an assessment as to why I didn't think that grew so well, and then we'll plan again for next year. So we'll re-evaluate, we'll make some new hypotheses and put that into practice. So there's a lot of science within what we do, or certainly a lot of scientific actions, and it's just that beauty of being able to demonstrate what we're doing, but also to bring that classroom learning to the home. We're just going to go and meet some of my friends over here. To be able to see them in a minute. Some of them are black, some of them are white. They are sheep. Great example of genetics in action. Questions: how can a black sheep have a white lamb, or a white sheep have a black lamb, or one sheep have a black and a white lamb? We talk a lot about genetics to do with that, but they're also made of meat, so we can talk about food. They're also herbivores, and when my poor old dog was around, I used to bring him out into the field. I used to pull his teeth back and show everyone his canines, his incisors, and I'd then show them, find one of our sheep as well, and show them their teeth. We'd look at the teeth of a carnivore. We'd look at the teeth of a herbivore, and then I'd encourage the children just to run their tongue along their own teeth, or to look at them in a mirror maybe, and to see what we're like as omnivores, and we'd be able to compare and contrast. And comparing and contrasting is so important. We do get some farmers and occasionally some schools who say we'd like to be paired with the nearest school or the nearest farmer we possibly can. That happened on the island of Jersey a few years ago, and I said to the schools there, I said, well, Jersey's a fantastic island, 8 miles long by 5 miles wide, and You've got a fantastic culture of dairy cows and potatoes. But wouldn't you rather be paired with a with a dairy farmer in Northern Ireland or a potato grower in Lincolnshire, or heaven forbid, maybe from a fruit grower in Herefordshire, or a crofter in Scotland? The opportunity of using virtual learning is really quite significant. And so often we do a lot of that comparing and contrasting. My first school was down on the south coast, about 300 miles south of where I am here in Cambridgeshire, and they had lovely chalky soils. I'd encourage them to look at the colour of their soil versus the colour of my soil. We'd be able to compare what the weather was like, the temperature. We'd be able to compare what they can see out of the classroom window. They said, oh, from the top window of the science block, we can see a yellow field. I wonder if that's rapeseed. So we had lots of great conversations about comparing and contrasting where we were, what the weather was like, what the soil was like, etc., etc. Right, I promised you some sheep. Let's see if we can bring some. And then I'll just give you one final experiment that I often do when I'm out in the grass field. Come on, ladies. And just to demonstrate, we can do. Right, let's turn you around so you can see. So they're pretty calm. Normally when sheep are spread out across the field, that means they're pretty relaxed. If they're grazing kind of wide apart, that means they're calm. If they're worried about predators or something else, or people, they tend to bunch up. But these guys aren't too bad. They're just chilling out here, just relaxing after eating a little bit of food this afternoon. Hello. This is Poppy. She's been on quite a few calls. She's a Zwarble, the Dutch German breed, bred for their milk, for their fantastic mothers. They've got an amazing deep fleece at the moment. I don't know if you can see how deep that is. It's probably have to do things in centimeters with schools. It's probably about 10 to 12 centimeters deep, that fleece, and it's gorgeous and warm throughout the winter. She's outside all winter and she doesn't worry about it at all. She likes a good scratch there. And in a couple of weeks' time, we'll shear this fleece off. We'll cut it off, and she'll be very happy to have lost it. I know, good girl. So yeah, she's covered in wool, which is of course a great textile. She's made of meat. Nutrition is a really important thing to her. What she's eating, how it's keeping her healthy. We talk about different things like pests and disease. We can talk about her skeleton, the makeup of her. I know, yeah, that's right, yep. And she likes to have a good nuzzle. So and then I will just, as I come into land, I know, Poppy, do you mind if I just, good girl, just loves the scraps. One of the other things which I do when we're talking about, and it's about finding ways to illustrate what we're doing. So often if we're in the field and we're talking about biodiversity, I'll take my cap off and I'll throw my cap, and then I go and have a look. Oh, I know it's nothing to eat. I go and have a look under my cap. I take the children and I show them what I can see. I know, off you go, good girl. And we look underneath the cap, just so we can see what's underneath there. So I can see a couple of different types of grasses. I'm right next to a thistle, so I'm not sure if I'm going to count that as on my biodiversity score. I can't see any clover in here. There's actually no clover around in this area, but I can see the two different types of grasses there, and that's a ryegrass as well. So we can look at how many different flowers we might have, whether we have other grasses, herbs, forbs, etc. And we can make an assessment of biodiversity, and the children can go and do that in the playground, on the playing fields, at home. I just say to them, take an area the size of an A4 sheet of paper. You might just let the paper fall, or use a similar way as I do for making your assessments and looking at biodiversity, and we can assess the quality of the grass that we have here on the farm, whilst we have a scratch with the sheep. So really, I'm coming into land here with FarmerTime, and it'd be great if you do have any questions, if there's anything else that you're interested in. There is lots more information at FarmerTime.uk. So Poppy's about 6 years old. She was one of three, and her mother didn't have quite enough milk for all three of her lambs, so we bottle fed two of them to give them all a chance. Hence why she's quite so friendly. So we've known each other quite well, haven't we? She had a lamb last year, but we didn't allow her to have a lamb this year, because sometimes it can be quite traumatic to lamb every single year. So but yeah, so a lot of more information at FarmerTime.uk, and I just encourage you to sign up. If it's something that you're interested in, it's something that you think could be useful for your class. If you've got children who would benefit from that kind of slightly more experiential learning, then then go for it. We've got farmers across the UK who are waiting to meet you guys and waiting to meet your children. And I think the other thing that I would say also is that farmers are obviously farmers. They're producing food. They're looking after the countryside. I know, good God, yeah. But they're also business owners. So they're used to we can talk about business. We can talk about overcoming challenges. They are members of the local community. So there's lots of kind of other things that we can learn. They're generally positive people. I know there's a bit of a stereotype of complaining farmers, but I don't see that at all. Actually, they're people who are used to overcoming challenges and hardship as well. So they're generally good examples. Well, I think exclusively good examples for those children as well. So yeah, we're 48% female farmers and 52% male. So there's it's a great kind of diversity to inspire our young boys and girls into farming and food production and looking after the environment and generally being healthy and living outdoors, hopefully. So that was the slightly whistle stop elevator pitch on FarmerTime on using virtual calls to illustrate classroom learning. Sorry for the kind of 60-second or so of silence. That we'll call that our second 2-minute silence of the day on VE Day. But if there's anything I've missed or if you've got any questions, do fire away.
Just to say thank you very much, Tom. You've demonstrated to us what the breadth of opportunities there are through virtual visits, and also obviously that opportunity to dip in throughout the year is really valuable, isn't it? To see that change across the seasons and to see things growing and changing over time. Obviously, a great bonus over the sort of one-off, physical visits, in fact.
That's right, and we do. If I can just pick up on that, we do occasionally get asked to do a one-off call, and we nearly always turn it down. One, because we've got farmers waiting to do series of calls, but also because it's great to do a one-off, but it is just a one-off. I think for me as a farmer, one of the beauties of FarmerTime is that a lot of people in the UK probably know about a farmer. They know about Clarkson or Adam Henson or people like that, but not many people actually know a farmer. And I think doing the multiple calls, actually journeying with them, I know, yeah, thank you. Actually journeying with them through the year, that's where we get our value. It's the building up of trust, building up a relationship, seeing the highs and lows, the wet days and the dry days, the planting and the harvest. That's why I know I'm becoming a scratching post. That's why that kind of ongoing series of calls is important, and that's again why that relationship between farmer and teacher is so valuable, because we can then continue to demonstrate subjects and topics throughout the school year.
Great. Are there any other questions for Tom? Jen has put in the chat both the landing page for the website, but also the teachers page for sign up. If this hasn't already been mentioned, apologies if I'm duplicating Tom, but it is a free opportunity, isn't it, for schools?
It's absolutely free. Our kind of administration and organisation is funded by our sponsors, so it's free for farmers, it's free for teachers. We're well aware two things in short supply. One is time, and that's why this is great for kind of very short 10-15-minute calls every 2 or 3 weeks. But also financial restrictions. And I would say one of the characteristics of a FarmerTime school is at the beginning of the year they haven't got the budget to do farm visits, which obviously is a shame, because there's huge opportunities for learning and illustrating curriculum on farms. But the other characteristic is by the end of the school year, very often the budget becomes available because we're starting to see the value of bringing learning to life this way, that we're starting to see the kind of whole range of topics that can be illustrated on the farm, in the countryside, out with nature. But we're also starting to see children who perhaps could find the kind of more traditional, the more kind of traditional classroom learning, not something that they immediately take to. I studied learning styles at university, and there's some people just the learning comes alive when they can see something, when they can interact with that farmer, with with that sheep, with that whatever it might be, and see it in front of their eyes.
Fantastic, thank you.
There's a question in the chat, just asking, is it better to have the same farmer link for, say, a year 2 group and a year 4 group within the same setting?
Yeah, we're pretty teacher-led in this respect. You guys will know your classes, you'll know your children, you'll know your learners, you'll know your curriculums and your circumstances, surroundings, your needs. So we'd be led by you guys. Is that question, would you put year 4 and year 2 on the same call together, or would you have the same farmer for 2 different age group classes and do separate calls?
Jackie, are you happy to maybe answer that question, or?
If not,
I'm not sure.
I'll answer. So I mean, generally we often have teachers that bring year groups together. So there'll often be two classrooms that come together to do the FarmerTime course. Not typically multiple years, but we have farmers that are super keen and would be very happy to take on 2 different year groups. Equally, it might be that we can provide you with 2 different farmers for your different age groups. Sometimes farmers will, perhaps they'll have young children and they'll say we'd rather have young children. Sometimes they might say we prefer an older class. Typically, so we have a great coordinator, Beck, and she'll get to know the farmer and find out what they like, what their strengths are, and what goes on their farm, and be able to recommend to the teacher the appropriate farmer. Obviously, we've got 1,000, so it's there's only so much bespoking we can do, but obviously we absolutely do our best. And whilst we do encourage the farmer and teacher relationships to last a full year, and many of them go into multiple years. We have some farmers in their 5th and 6th year with the same teacher running with different classes. There is the opportunity to change if occasionally we'll hear, I don't know, if there's a challenge on the farm or in the school, then we can swap and change around.
And sorry if I'm duplicating here, Tom, as well. But if a school has a particular desire, like you said about the schools on Jersey, wanting, so they can put that forward to you, that they would like, say, something that was specific to their learning. Say if it was dairy or livestock, or whatever their strength, their preference was for.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and do feel free to make those requests. We can't always find somebody exactly for everybody. So, but we do encourage teachers just to give it a go. It's amazing the opportunities for illustrating our curriculum, and often I think when we think from an educator's perspective, we think, oh, this is what we're studying, so this is the kind of farmer we'd like. But very often, Sir Bex, our coordinator, will be able to take those requests and may be able to help. But equally, there are learning opportunities on every farm in the UK, no matter what kind of farm it is, and it's very easy to bring them into the curriculum, no matter whether you're raising sheep or crops or fruit, or we've got a fish farmer, we've got a flower farmer. So there's lots of opportunities to illustrate that. And I think it's I also describe FarmerTime as a great gateway drug as well, because it's free, it's easy, it only takes 10-15 minutes every couple of weeks. But I think often when we realize that huge potential, that's when we can look at other things. And Soil Association is a great example of an organization that can grow and support the school, the teacher, no matter what you're looking to, no matter what outcomes you're looking for. So yeah, we have a good time, don't we? I know. The other sheep aren't quite so in your face. They're more in your field, but this one's definitely. Yeah, that's right. There must be one more question. I have to say, teachers, educators, our children are fantastic at asking questions. Sometimes I get on calls with teachers and we're a little bit quieter. So if anyone's got a burning question to channel their inner curious child, then now's your time. There is no question off limits. We talk about where babies come from. We cover all kinds of topics, as you might imagine. I once introduced my call to my class by saying, today I'm standing on top of a mountain. I wonder if you can guess what kind of a mountain it was. And they had lots of great guesses. None of them guessed that I'd be standing on a mountain of poo. So that was our muck heap, and we then ended up talking about nutrition and plant health. And my GCSE biology teacher said to me, there are only two key factors in biology. One is poo, the other is reproduction. So we absolutely cover those. I know.
Looks like we have a question from Laura. Laura?
Hello,
Yeah.
can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, Laura,
hi.
hi.
Oh, hello. I teach art in a school for, when I'm food tech in a school for students who are visually impaired, and also the, with other needs as well. Do you work with this type of schools, or?
Yeah, we obviously are populated. Our team are our farmers who sign up. So some of them will be able to work with SEND schools or schools that have additional requirements.
Okay.
It's not something that we we don't have a particular stream. We don't have additional training for our farmers in those areas. So it might be if we can make a pairing that that you can help your farmer to serve you. I know, yes, right, to serve you better. So I'm only slightly distracted today. But yeah, so I would imagine in that situation you might be able to help your farmer to serve you better. But yeah, no, we don't rule out working with SEND schools. But it's not something that we're specifically geared up to. Is that a bit of a politician's answer?
No, it's great, thank you. And also, I want to say I've truly enjoyed seeing your farm and listening to you talking about everything. So thank you.
We have such a great time, and it's been so good for our farmers. I mean, a lot of them say, well, actually, I really should do FarmerTime. It'll be good to show the future consumers, the future workforce of the UK, what farming's all about. But they actually realise, you spend a lot of time on your own on the farm. Well, not really on your own, but on your own on the farm, and it's so good for our farmers as well to interact, to realise that they're scientists and experts, and to have that kind of fortnightly interaction with children. Lots of farmers contact me and tell me, I was a bit nervous the first time, Tom, but now it's already the highlight of my week, and I can't wait for next time.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Great question, Laura. I wonder if that stimulated another question from anyone. She's already starting to lose her fleece here. See, that's the under fleece growing up, and last year's fleece coming out, just ready for birds to pluck it off and make their nest. I know you must be getting a bit warm, aren't you?
Okay, do we have any more questions for Tom?
I suspect everybody's just busily being so delighted at having met you, Tom, and meeting Poppy and seeing the lovely
Yes.
relationship you have with her, as well as your classes, that everybody's going, how do we get involved? How do we get involved? How do we get involved?
Well, Poppy owes her name to my very first FarmerTime class. She was when she was born, we gave them the opportunity to name her. And Poppy was thank goodness Poppy was the name they came up with. I mean, Sheepy McSheepface, or I don't know what else the children might come up with. Could be I know, yes, you've got a lovely name. And that's another great thing that the children can do to kind of really interact with the farm. It's only limited by our imagination. It's only limited by by the way that we can bring that classroom learning alive.
Thank you so much, Tom. It's been really, really fascinating. I'm just checking. There's been some comments coming in, so I don't want to cut anybody off. Jen, shall I hand over to you just in case?
Do get in touch if you've got any other questions. There's a lot on the website, farmertime.uk. You can get in touch with me via most social media, Farmer Tom. But Bex, our brilliant coordinator, is fantastic at helping our teachers. I would say the one thing I would just say is, do please be persistent. Sometimes we start our calls. I'd always recommend doing a bit of a test call without the children there with the farmer. But do be persistent in order to get the most out of FarmerTime. It's important to get going those kind of second, third, fourth calls when sometimes it's a bit difficult to schedule things in. So perhaps we miss a call, or the children are a bit off one day or whatever. But I would say do be persistent. When you're persistent, you really do get the most out of those calls, and it can be hugely valuable. And thanks for looking after the next generation.
Thank you very much.
There's no specific questions in the chat, but just want to let you know there's lots of love. Everyone's loving your farm, and can't wait to partner. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you everyone for your time this afternoon. We hope that well, I feel certain that having Tom talk about the FarmerTime project will have, you can see the value in it for your Food for Life work, and we really encourage you to sign up and get involved. It's a great learning opportunity. So thank you very much, everyone, and thank you, Tom, for your time.